Everything on this screen, a proposal, a technical scope, a system architecture diagram, a knowledge base, an implementation timeline, a risk register, and a client follow-up email, was all generated in about 10 minutes from a single sales call transcript. All of it is saved straight to my Google Drive folder, and the proposal was for a $5,000 AI voice agent, which I closed. Now I'm going to show you exactly how I built this, and there's one piece of the system that has completely changed the way that prospects respond to me, and we'll get to that. But here's the thing. If you're watching this, you probably already know how to build automations. That's not your problem. Your problem is you get off a sales call, you're excited, and then you sit down to write the proposal and it takes you like 3 hours. Or you skip it entirely and just send the price over text. And then you wonder why your prospects ghost you. I help builders and freelancers turn their technical skills into actual AI consulting income. And I built this system because I was tired of being the bottleneck in my own business. If you want to land your first or next AI client, you can take part in the 4-week challenge inside my free school community of like-minded people, where you'll find a free course that's honestly better than most paid courses out there, and you'll get direct one-on-one access to me for whatever questions you might have. The link is down below. Now let's dive in. All right, so right now we are inside of Claude Desktop and we are in Cowork. So you can toggle between chat, Cowork, and Claude Code for desktop, but we are going to be using Cowork. Now, one of the most common questions I get is how do you build a Claude skill? And I would say anytime you have a question about how to do something, ask Claude. Go ask Opus 4.7. Have a conversation back and forth. Describe the use case. Like, for example, if I were building this skill over again, I would take a Fathom transcript from a sales call. I would drop it into Claude, Opus 4.7, and I would say, hey, these are the documents that I want to generate off the back of this sales call. What information do you need from me in order to flesh this out? Because I want to turn this into a Claude skill that I can then use in Cowork and have this run for me, and I don't have to manually create these documents. And then just have a conversation back and forth with Opus, and that's the best way to create a skill. Then Claude Opus will go through its process, create the skill for you, and then you can actually just click save and automatically save it to your skill files. Now over here on the left where it says customize, I can come up here to skills and we can look at the client stack builder. And so what this does is transform a sales or discovery call transcript into a complete 7-document client deliverable package that has the recap, email, proposal, technical scope, architecture diagram, knowledge base, implementation timeline, and risk register. So it's going to save everything to a specified Google Drive client folder. So use whenever the user provides a call transcript and asks for follow-up deliverables, a proposal, a client package, or triggers like the run client stack builder, which is the name of the skill, build the client stack, etc. Now, down in the description, you will get a link to go ahead and download the skill. You can run it through Opus and have it checked to make sure it's not doing anything, malicious or crazy if you are concerned about security. But you can also come here to the skill itself, click in the 3 dots, and click edit. Or you can edit with Claude, and that's going to just allow you to edit the skill itself. So if there's anything that you want to add, remove, change, you can go ahead and do that there to make it specific for your business. Okay, but let me show you this thing in action because it's massive. So I'm going to go back from the customize menu and come right here to Cowork. And so the way I'm going to invoke this skill is by just calling it by its name. So the client stack builder, and then I'm going to paste the transcript that I have from Fathom just below that. But I also want to anonymize the name of this client because it is a real client that I closed. And so I'm going to tell Cowork to just refer to it as Home Inspectors Inc. Okay, so I just said, please anonymize the client name to Home Inspectors Inc. This is for a demo I'm doing on YouTube and I don't want to dox the client. And then beneath that, I'm just going to paste the transcript from the call and send it off. And so basically to give you context about this deal, so basically it's a home inspector. He has a small team. He's actually here in California where I live. And the issue that he's facing is he has an office manager and she's constantly on the phone when she could be doing revenue generating activities. One of the biggest revenue generators that she could be working on is forming partnerships with real estate agents. So that way they can kind of build up their base of real estate agents so that whenever a home inspection is needed from one of their, kind of base real estate agent clients, then they can have that kind of predictable source of revenue because every real estate agent has a specific home inspector that they always go to, right? And so instead of answering the phones and answering the same few questions every single time that somebody calls, she can actually be doing something that's making money for the business. And so for this project, we're going to be building a voice agent that has the ability to book appointments, send confirmation texts, actually book appointments via text, and just answer general FAQs and questions that people have when they call in. One thing that's a little bit challenging about this project is that they have 4 individual calendars for each of the 4 inspectors that they have employed, but they also have a multi-family calendar. And so that's like if they have to inspect an apartment building or, some other commercial space or something like that. And so it takes multiple inspectors. And so the agent's going to need to be able to coordinate between multiple calendars to see when 2 inspectors are available instead of just 1. All right, so now we can see that Cowork is building out the full 7-document package for Home Inspectors, Inc. So it's reading the docx skill and setting up the working directory. And it's also generating all of those deliverables that's going to produce 6 docx files and then 1 visual file that we're going to be looking at in just a sec. And then once all of those files are generated, it's going to automatically save them to my Google Drive folder. And so I can just proceed with doing whatever I need to do, creating a YouTube video, getting on another call, working directly with the client, etc. And the very first proposal that I ever wrote literally took me, I think, 2.5 hours. And I was so stressed and brain dead by the end of it that I was just done. And actually that probably worked in my favor because I felt like I priced that project a little high, but the client ended up actually accepting it and I was thrilled. But at that point, I was just so tired that I didn't care. So this is going to remove a lot of that work, and it's also going to speed up that process. And I can't tell you how many clients have specifically mentioned that the speed with which I got them the proposal and all these supporting documents was one of the deciding factors for them. Like they could tell that I actually use these systems in my own business and it's not just something that I talk about or say that I can do. Okay, so now it's creating the architecture diagram as a proper MX graph model XML file and then validating all of the files. One thing I want to mention too is as you're developing these skills and using them in Cowork, if something isn't working exactly the way you want it to, if it's taking too long, if it's giving you an output that you don't like, whatever the case is, screenshot it. Like give it back to Claude Opus 4.7 where you were brainstorming to build the skill in the first place and say, hey, I want to change this, or this is taking too long, or whatever the case is. But having that back and forth conversation and using Claude Opus 4.7 as a collaborator instead of as a tool where you feel like you're responsible for everything is life-changing. Like, I know that sounds dramatic, but it's actually true. Okay, so now it saved all of the files locally. And so this is what the output looks like. We're still waiting for it to save to my Google Drive, but a recap email. So I can literally just copy and paste that and send the email. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to customize it in my brain for every situation. It's done for me. The proposal, I can come in here and tweak the pricing, which I would for this particular client. I would change it to $5,000 and $500 a month. Then there's the technical scope, the architecture diagram, which I will show you in just a sec, the knowledge base, which is actually be perfect for building the voice agent with VAPI. So I can take that knowledge base, upload it into VAPI, and it's going to have all the information that I need for the voice agent to be able to book appointments, answer questions, that whole thing. The implementation timeline, so I can have that, provide it to the client, show it on the kickoff call and say, this is what you can expect. And then the risk register. So that's something that I can work with internally with my team as we're building this out, to make sure that we're looking for these risks and mitigating them or eliminating them so that we're not dealing with chaos throughout this project. And then at the bottom, these are just some things that Cowork is calling out that we need, the FAQs, the service area boundaries, exact business hours, that kind of a thing. Okay, and then if we come over to my Google Drive to my clients folder, we can see that Cowork has created the Home Inspectors Inc. folder. And if we come in here, this is where my documents are going to drop in. I'm going to take a break and go grab some tea. Okay, so now we have all 6 documents, plus we have the architecture diagram, which I'm going to show you how we're going to open it. But now I have my follow-up email ready to send. I can just copy and paste this. I have my proposal. If I want to come in here and make changes to pricing or time frame or anything like that, then I could do that. I have my technical scope doc, my knowledge base, my implementation timeline, and the risk register. Okay, so the one thing that we don't have is the architecture diagram. So this is a 5 swim lane diagram, so customer facing, routing, agents, data, and human handoff. So what we're going to want to do is grab this, click the copy button. Then we're going to come over to app.diagrams.net. And with that code that we just copied, we're going to just hit Control V if you're on Windows or Command V if you're on Mac. And we might need to kind of rearrange this a little bit just so that it's like a little bit easier to read, but just a little bit of dragging and dropping to make it a little bit more pretty. And it's perfect. It's ready to deliver to the client. And keep in mind that this is the worst that Cowork will ever be. As Cowork continues to improve, as models continue to get better, this is just going to become faster and easier. And Claude and the Claude ecosystem are quickly becoming like the only tool you need. You don't need to go out and learn N8N, this, that, and the other. You can just learn the Claude ecosystem and be able to do damn near anything. That's a $5,000 proposal and 6 supporting documents, built from one sales call, all saved to the right client folder. This takes hours to do manually, even just using Claude Web alone. Now I spend that time on the next sales call. And that piece that I mentioned earlier, the thing that changed how prospects respond, it's the speed. When you send a polished proposal, scope document, and implementation timeline 30 minutes after ending the Zoom call, you're not competing anymore. You're the only one who looks like a real consultant. The skill is free, it's linked down in the description. Drop it into Cowork, point it at your next sales call transcript, and watch your client folder fill up. And if you want to land your first or next AI client, you can take part in the 4-week challenge inside of my free school community of like-minded people, where you'll find a free course that's honestly better than most paid courses out there, and you'll get direct one-on-one access to me for whatever questions you might have. The link is down below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.